I'm so grateful that we have a single purpose, that we don't have to worry and figure out and try to think, what's the other person thinking? What are they going to do? How am I going to react? How are we going to proceed in whatever we want to do in life? No, we have a friend that we are actively pursuing and praising everything that's good in each other. We're letting go of all of our judgments of what we think should be or could be, or how you can improve upon who you are. You can't. You are as God created you. You don't need to improve on it. You can't improve on it. You're perfect as God created you. All I can improve is my awareness of it and my dedication to expressing only that. I'm getting a little feedback here. I don't know how you deal with that, but my dedication to expressing my God nature. Not trying to fix you, trying to praise you when you are expressing your God nature. When you're doing something amazing and good. Thank you, Kathy Sullivan. I'm going to praise you for posting something this week. It was so cool that all those people, 600 linemen and linewomen, electrical workers from around the country drove to Cape Cod to help us out. Isn't that amazing? I was wondering, where did all those trucks come from? Driving around, and you see 600 of them drove, some of them for over 24 hours, to help us all here, to get our electricity back.
The Yarmouth House fed them. That was the good thing.
Of course we're going to feed them if they drive 24 hours to get here. I saw them all pulling into the Yarmouth House. Is that where you got the photo?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, of course, we're going to be hospitable. Everybody comes to the Cape for vacation, but not in the winter. They don't come to get up on a pole 90 feet in the air with 60-mile-an-hour winds hitting them. So, God bless those guys and women who came to help us with our electricity. You can turn these lights back up a little. What happens when the chaos of the world is the voice we're listening to? We miss all the good stuff. We miss the fact that all those guys came to help us. We miss the fact that we're sitting with people right now who are doing so many amazing things in their life. And even if you're doing just one little thing that makes humanity better or makes you happier, that's helping everyone. And that's a really important thing to focus on. And we have to focus on those things rather than listening to the voice of, oh my God, we have no electricity, and oh my God, another snowstorm, another 90-mile-an-hour wind. And it is pretty devastating. You know, when I drove down the streets of my hometown where I grew up in Falmouth, and I saw all these trees knocked over, like 8 or 9 huge pine trees. When I was a kid, they were only 10 feet high. Now they're 90 feet high. Now they're no more. They're going to get blown over. But it was a little devastating to go around the neighborhood and to see the lines down on the street and the trees knocked over and people's roofs were flying all around. And a lot of people with no heat, no water, a lot of elderly people. My mom had to come and stay with us, for instance. We're so lucky that we have a place we could bring her to. We were so grateful. So we just got really grateful that we had a place and that she could be with us in our place because she invited us to be with her in her place at one time. And a lot of miracles come out of these things. A lot. And we'll miss it. We're going to miss all the good stuff if we're listening to the voice of fear. We're going to miss all the beauty in life. We're going to miss all the amazing opportunities to see the connections and the synchronicities and God working in all things. We pray a lot with people that God is in the midst of whatever's going on for you. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter how devastating or how challenging it is for you. God The power of the universe is in the midst of that situation. And even if I can't see it with these eyes, it's okay, because I can hear it. I can experience it. I love it. She's so wonderful. Thank you. Never stop singing. You know what? Someday she'll be up in front of people singing that same song. We'll see you on The Voice or something. You're so beautiful. Wow. That's the kind of energy you love. It's free. Are you feeling free today? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling incredibly joyful? Because if you're not, if there's any little part of you that's not, you're listening to the voice for fear. And you're not listening to the voice for God. Today I want to learn to listen to the voice for God. And in learning to listen to that powerful, that still but powerful voice within me, and follow the guidance of Spirit, then my direction becomes really clear and really, really happy. And I understand that God's will for me is perfect happiness. There is no other will except that. Perfect happiness. If I'm not demonstrating and experiencing perfect happiness, guess what? I'm refusing to acknowledge God's will for me. I'm listening to the voice of the ego and of fear. And I don't have to give voice to that. Yes, we're going to feel some feelings, but I don't have to give voice to the fearful feelings, the negative feelings. I don't have to give it a voice and give it energy and put that energy out into the world. It's my decision what I'm putting out into the world. I can just as well listen to the voice for God, accept that God's will for me is happiness, and share that with the world. It's just that simple. It doesn't seem easy, but it is simple. It's a change of mind. Think about that for a moment. God's will for me is perfect happiness. So what's happening on earth? What is all the conflict? Where's all the violence and all that negativity coming from? Guess what? It's coming from our negative thinking. It's coming from the voice of fear. And I'm giving it voice and putting that in the world. And I'm not going to do that any longer. What I really want to do, and what I'm asking for help to do, is listening to the voice of the eternal loving Spirit of God. And give that a voice in the world. Give that a voice in my relationships. Give that a voice everywhere I go. In my neighbor's house, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Because I need to give voice to that which is true. I not only need to learn to listen to the voice for God, but I have to act upon it. I have to give that universal consciousness a voice. And know that in doing that, I'm the one who benefits first in the experience that I'm whole, that I'm complete, that I'm magnificent, and I'm a happy child of a loving and happy Creator. The problem that we might have is that we're looking to a benevolent being out there to do everything for us. This has been sort of the history of religion and the history of a lot. I won't say everyone, but a lot of Christianity is saying the benevolent God's going to take care of it. And if you do wrong, the benevolent God's going to smite you and knock you down. And if you do right, the benevolent God will open the kingdom of heaven to you. What if you're already in the kingdom of heaven and you just can't see it? I just can't see it because I'm giving voice and I'm giving vision or sight to these eyes through the voice of fear and the voice of the ego. So what does the voice of God sound like? What language does it speak? How do I listen to that voice? Yeah, it's vibration. The universe doesn't understand words. It understands vibration only. The universe is not punishing you for anything, and it's not rewarding you for anything. It's just simply reflecting and giving you back the same vibration that you are emitting. The same vibrational frequency that you are representing is what the universe is going to give to you. Because it can only give, you can only receive, let's say, what you are willing to accept for yourself. You can't, even if it's somebody comes up to you and gives you $1 million, and you say, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with that $1 million. I'm going to have to pay taxes on that $1 million. Oh my God, everybody's going to want my $1 million. I'm going to have to open a new bank account. What's going on there? You're not willing to receive it. You're not ready to receive it. Very interesting for me that God is giving us everything in every moment, and take a look at what our lives sometimes look like. When we're arguing, when we're angry, when we're fearful, when we're blaming other people for everything we're feeling. And God is pouring out all the blessings of the universe to us. Oh my goodness, I looked at myself one day and said, what am I doing? There's a whole universe out there. That's what I want. Why am I creating this when I have the whole universe at my fingertips? It's amazing to me. Now, what I want to say about this, listening to the voice for God as an essential step, it's the first step, is because the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, started out this way. In silent prayer, they started Silent Unity. They just started praying for people. And they had many ideas because Myrtle was able to use the voice for God to speak to her body to heal her body. And it's become a very popular way of healing, to affirm that the goodness of the universe is flowing through you and enlivening you. And to speak to every cell and to every organ and to everything in your body as if it were God. Something, you have to listen to something that's telling you that. So it took them actually 20 years before they published anything in writing. They wanted it to be something worthy of publishing. They wanted it to really be representative of the truth they were experiencing and representative of the voice that was moving inside of them. And so they gave voice to that higher consciousness. But first, the first book they put out was Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. It was someone else's work who they admired. So they were still listening. They listened and they received for a long time before they expressed it in writing. And writing has become one of the mainstays for Unity, the Daily Word. It's been one of the most popular spiritual magazines. It's a little daily magazine. If you don't get the Daily Word, we have them downstairs in the bookstore. But if you're not using the Daily Word, I really highly recommend it. Because every day you have a thought, like we had today, of comfort and care. And the next day there'll be a word to focus on. My wife and I also do A Course in Miracles, which has daily lessons. So I find that every day, if we have something to focus our mind on, the voice will be speaking to us. And pick something that speaks to you. It doesn't matter what it is. A lot of people use chanting in Eastern style of religious not doctrine, but religious texts. Some words work better for others. Some actions work better for others. Some types of meditation work better for others. I often say, there's no right way to pray. The only way to pray is your way. So the Fillmores developed a way for them, and it took so many years for them to be able to express that in writing. Lily and I have also been reading The Story of Unity. This is amazing. chronicle of everything the Fillmores went through in leading up to the founding of Unity, and also what it means for people today. Because it's a movement that's growing and expanding and changing all the time. It's not stagnant in a doctrine. It doesn't have a dogma or creed. It has at its foundation personal, individual, spiritual discovery. So you get to discover for yourself. And that's why it's so important, this first step in listening. Listening deeply for that voice for God that is within you. Charles Fillmore said something very interesting too. Well, first, Myrtle. Myrtle said, sometimes we pray to a God outside of ourselves, but it is the God in the midst of us that frees us and heals us. It's whatever you imagine, that eternal, universal mind, consciousness, power, being, whatever you call God to be, imagining it within you. Totally and completely in you. For if God is everywhere and everything at all times, it would have to be within you as well. And it would have to contain exactly the same power and the same presence and the same qualities that it contains in the universe. So Charles Fillmore said there's an inherent law of mind that we increase whatever we praise. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. That's the law of mind action. When we are focusing with our mind on God being within us, we start to increase that. When we start to praise ourselves and each other for our connection to God, our expression of love, our expression of gratitude, of giving, when we start to praise those things in everyone around us, guess what? It increases. And you get happier and happier and happier. I'm not trying to solve the problems of the world. I'm trying to solve the cause of those problems. Because if you just try to solve the outward problem, of course you're going to turn around and run right into another one. And there's another one over here, and another one over here, and another problem in front of me and behind. I'm surrounded by problems. Why? Because that's what I'm focusing on. I'm trying to understand and experience that there is a realm of reality, of consciousness and reality, where there is no problem. If God knew about your problems, He'd have the same one that you do. Can you kind of get this at all? The universe doesn't know of anything that is imperfect. Love cannot contain anything that is outside of itself. And so hate and sin and sickness and death in reality, in the eternal reality, do not exist. Yesterday, I was talking with Lily, and she said, I had a revelation. It's about the soul. Because we were listening to someone say, everyone is a soul incarnate in a body. But where or when was the soul born? And so we thought about it, and we listened to the voice for God, and she looked up a spiritual text about it, and it said the soul is eternal. She said, that's my revelation. The soul is eternal, and if we are souls incarnate, then we are eternal. That we were never born and we do not die. We are part of a creation that is eternal and exists forever. And when that becomes your experience, a revelatory experience in your mind, that you are actually eternal and you can never die, it's going to change your life forever. Because you're going to begin to demonstrate to those around you something else. It will not come from fear. Our biggest fear is death. And when you take that out of the equation, that we are eternal, something else happens. We begin to act from the constancy of a trust in God, a constancy of love that is forever present. It's not something we need to create and make up. Love is all around us all the time. All I'm creating is a space for that to happen, for that awareness to be so present with you, that love is all around us and it's what you are. That's all we want to do, is create space for love, give room to love. And in order to do that, I need to let go of some things, some ways of thinking, and some ways that I've been judging, and some fears that I've had, and a lot of ideas that do not serve me at all. Let them go. It's just an addiction to your thinking. There is a new way of thinking and listening, and it is present with you now. That way of thinking is God's way. It's through the vibration of love. It's through the Spirit that we relate to one another. And I think this is a very key and important point, is that we relate to each other as spiritual beings. The Bible says the fruit of the Spirit is love. It's joy. It's peace. It's forbearance, which means forgiveness. It's kindness. It's goodness. It's faithfulness. There's no one going to be more faithful to you than a spiritual partner, than a spiritual friend, than a spiritual community, because we're letting God move through us. So here they are again, the fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, forgiveness or forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and two more, gentleness and self-control. Now, self-control, that's a tough one for some people. They might think, oh, now he's getting a little fundamental on me here. You got to control yourself. I'm not saying that at all. Real self-control is total freedom. I feel totally free to do anything and everything I want in life, because I have a voice guiding me that's guiding me to my highest good and to all good all the time. I mean, it's true. I practice a few things. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm not using the F word anymore. Jack can tell you. Collectively, that was our favorite word. But it's not that I start out trying not to do something. What I'm focusing on is my higher good. What I'm focusing on is the energy that I'm giving off. I said that word once in a Course in Miracles meeting, and boy, did I get a long email about it. And my highest good is not to offend people. My highest good is to join with you. And if that offends anyone, that's something I need to let go of. And so there's a lot of negative thinking. There's a lot of things that we do as a habit, as an addiction of, I don't know what it is, but that's what I think self-control can really come into play. What I'm really doing is saying, I will not let fear hijack my consciousness. I will not let separation hijack my consciousness. I will not let something that I don't believe in be part of how I show up in the world. That's how I'm getting into next week. Next week's going to be, how are you showing up in the world? So I want you to think, you have a whole week to think about it. How am I showing up in the world? Because if I'm not showing up the way I really want to, there's a really quick and easy way to get back on track. And that's listening to the voice for God. That's listening to the feelings and the callings of those fruits that I spoke of, which are love. Love is calling you. Love is speaking to you. Joy. Joy is calling you. Joy is speaking to you. Peace is calling you and speaking to you. And I want to listen to that. That's the quick and easy way to get back on track, is to listen to that loving voice of the Spirit, of which we are a whole part. So listen, my friends, listen every day, deeply, deeply to your heart of hearts. It will never lead you astray. And when you think you're listening deeply, go even deeper and listen even more. And follow the ease and the grace of Spirit. That's what's guiding you. It's talking to you every moment of the day. There's a lesson in A Course in Miracles that says God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There's not a moment which God's voice ceases to call to me from deep within my own consciousness, and perhaps also from the outer depths of the universe simultaneously, to listen, to hear, and remember who I really am. Because who I really am is a whole part of a whole and loving God. And I want to be more like that God. I want to be more like that love. I want to be more like that peace and that joy. And I know that you do too. So be blessed, my friends, and be a blessing. I love you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.